Hey, it's Alchemist Camp, where we learn the Elixir programming language by building things. Last time was the minimal to-do, which got a little carried away. So for lesson 5, we're going to build something more self-contained. It's going to be a Markdown parser. In case you're not familiar with Markdown, I will give you a quick example here. asdf.md for Markdown. You're probably most familiar with Markdown from sites like Reddit, where if you type in some comment like, I really disagree with you, and you put really in stars, it will italicize it. Now, one thing that's kind of cool is Visual Studio Code has a Markdown previewer built into it. You can access that with Control-Shift-V. Yeah, there we go, Control-Shift-V. And I'm going to split screen this with Control-Backspace so that we can see the preview and the source at the same time. Another thing that's common in Markdown is H1 tags. This will make a huge header. Main title of my doc. And you can make smaller headers like an H2 HTML element with 2 pounds. A less important header. And you can strongly emphasize text. You can make lists of 1, 2, 3 things. You can do a whole bunch of stuff with Markdown. It's not quite a whole HTML, but you can put normal HTML into it. And unlike HTML, this is a lot more human readable in its raw form, and it's also a bit quicker to type. So it's pretty popular. A lot of forums will just support maybe these two, italicizing and bolding words. But some, like Reddit, support lists and headers and links and a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to make a super minimal Markdown parser. We're not going to build a whole Elixir or anything like that. We'll just run a file through a few regular expressions and get a feel for what kinds of things we can do quickly on the fly. All right, so we will call our file Markdown, actually call it mini markdown.exe. And we no longer need this split screen with the preview. We'll bump up the text size a little bit. Well, that may be too much. We'll see how that goes. And our module is mini markdown. Our main function is just going to be called toHTML. And this function is going to, it's going to take in some text, and then it's going to do a lot of transforms in a pipeline. So we'll transform one feature of the text to be like Markdown, then another, then another, then another, and so on. So the first thing it will do is bold. So that's pretty simple. Actually, italics is even more simple. We'll do that. So we'll call it italics. And it will take text in, and it will return text out that's been transformed. So we'll use regex.replace, and this will replace every instance that matches the regex we're about to define in a string. So if you had a string where this thing shows up 3 times, it'll be replaced all 3 times. By default, you can also make it so it just replaces 1. So italics is a star, but star means something in regex. It means as many as possible of the previous thing. So like this would match a single A or 5 A's or 100 A's in a row. We actually mean the star itself, so we have to backslash to escape it. So a star, and then dot matches anything. And the star, as I just said, is 0 to infinity of anything. So this will match any amount of anything in between two stars. So that should be pretty much what we need for, to match our italics and text. And then after text is, so text is what's input into it. And then we have to show what's going to be output. So the way you italicize things in HTML is either the I tag, but that's been long deprecated. Now everyone uses an EM tag to mean emphasis. And then we want to match the thing that was captured between these parentheses. Every time you have parentheses like this in regex, it actually is capturing what got matched by them. And you can use that with \1. However, this backslash itself has to be escaped, so it's \1, and then close EM tag. And this regex replace function is going to return a string of text that just has all of those replaces done. So let's check it out in IEX and see mini markdown.ex. Okay, and mini markdown.italics of I so enjoyed that pot roast. Thank you. And you can see we have an HTML tag, EM, around the so, just like we wanted. And the next thing to do is use that in our main function. So the main function takes in some text. We will pipeline it into italics. And we're going to do it on a separate line because soon we'll have a bunch more of these transforms. So next is bold. Bold is going to be almost the same thing. I'll just copy this up there by highlighting it all and using Shift-Alt-Up, as I explained in an earlier video. It's bold. And for bolds, we're going to have 2 stars on each side. And instead of EM, the tag is bold. I just had a word highlighted. I hit Control D. I'll show you that again. So EM is highlighted. I hit Control D. Now it's highlighted the next EM. And if I continue hitting Control D, it will just highlight more and more throughout the app. I hit Escape to go back. All right, I just want to convert these two to strong. Okay. And since bold will match what italics, or since italics will always match a bold, we're going to check for the bolds first and then for the italics. Okay, now let's recompile. And instead of, we want to HTML. Okay, there we go. I so enjoyed that pot roast. Thank you. And the thank is in strong. Very good. Next thing we can do is paragraph tags. Paragraph tags are a serious pain, but one thing Markdown does for you is it will automatically add paragraph tags to your text when you convert it into HTML. So basically any paragraphs which are just chunks of text separated by new lines will get the paragraph tags around them. We'll just jump right in. So it also takes text, do, and this regex is, we're gonna look for new lines and then stuff that's not new lines, and then replace the new lines with paragraph tags around the stuff that was not a new line. Regex.replace, and you may recall from earlier videos, to get a new line is also a little bit of a pain, because we got to check for \r\n, since that's what Windows does, and \r, which is what old Macs and some other old Unix systems did, and \n, which is standard on modern Unix systems. And then caret matches the beginning of a file. So this expression here in this first set of parentheses is one of those three kinds of new lines, or the beginning of the file. Because if you start a file with text and then you have a new line after it, that text at the very top is probably a paragraph, unless you specified it as a heading. Okay, and we will match one or more of these, so we use plus. So you could have a whole bunch of new lines, doesn't matter, it still should be a paragraph. And recall I said that this \1 matches this capture group in the parentheses. We don't want that capture group, we actually want the next thing, which is anything except new lines. Remember, in regex you can put stuff inside brackets. This would match any number of characters that are A, S, D, or F. Well, if I did that, then it's any number. If you have a caret inside the brackets, then it says match things that aren't these things. So this would match anything except an A, S, D, or an F. We want to match anything except for carriage returns and new lines. And we do it like so. And we'll match one or more of them. So you've got to have something between the new lines, or else you can't have a paragraph of nothing. And then we'll close this. These parentheses are just used to capture this stuff. Now we've already got one capture to the left, where we've got the three kinds of new lines to capture. So that's going to be interpolated to the \1. These that we want are going to be interpolated to \2, since it's the second parenthesis capture group. So the tag for paragraph is P, and then inside of that we'll use the stuff we captured in the second capture, and then a closing tag is P. This is not quite complete, but we'll take a look at what it does. And actually, in order to look at what it does, it would be easier if we had a test string. So we'll just make one. We'll define it in the file so that we have easy access to it. So I'll just call it def test string. And this is a heredoc syntax for a multi-line file. I so enjoyed eating that burrito, and the hot sauce was amazing. I guess this is what happens when I record one of these videos before lunch, but that's all right. And then we'll make another paragraph just so we can make sure things are working. What did you think of it? Actually, let's make a third, just ASDF. Okay. I'm just going to end the function, and we'll indent those. Okay, let's recompile. And let's import mini Markdown so we don't have to keep on typing that. Okay, so test string, yes, there we go. And what if we pipe test string into bold? We just get the strong tag there. Okay, now let's see if we can just get the paragraphs out. Okay, this first one is good. So that first line should be a paragraph, should have paragraph tags in HTML. Second one is good. Third one is also good, but we have a trailing new line at the end. We don't want to match new lines after the stuff that's not a new line, because then those will get stripped out and the next paragraph tag won't get applied. So we just need a more complicated regular expression. We will match 0 or more new lines that are followed directly by the end of file. End of file is like this in a regular expression, just the $sign. So let's see here. 1 or more new lines, except this is beginning of file. And we don't want it to be an or thing. We only want this thing to match if we have the end of the file there. So we'll have to wrap it in another pair of parentheses. That's so that this internal set of parentheses won't match a new line, say, after the first paragraph, and then eat it as it's doing the replace, and then not be able to catch the second paragraph because the second one won't have preceding new lines. This will only match if we have new lines followed by the end of the file. And if our string were like this, so that the file ended right at ASDF, we should still probably wrap that in a paragraph tag, so this final match won't be required. And the way you do that in regex is by putting a question mark after it. So the plus means 1 or more, the star means 0 or more, the question mark means 0 or 1. So I know this is an ugly looking regex at this point. We'll just go through it. We'll look at it in 3 chunks. We have first, new lines or beginning of the file, sorry, and any number of them. The plus goes with that group. Then we have things that are not new lines, and it has to be some of them. It has to be 1 or more. And then we possibly have some new lines before the end of it, or we possibly have any number of new lines before the end of a file. All right, that looks right. Let's see if it works. Import mini markdown. And, oh wait, already gotta compile mini markdown, import mini markdown, and we go paragraph, 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 and no new lines at the end. So that looks like what we want. Let's do that transform first. And now we'll test the entire thing together to HTML. That looks pretty much like we wanted. But just to be sure that we're on the right track, let's actually create an output file from this. So we're going to say output equals TestString piped into HTML, and then we'll write that out. So file.write output, comma, oh, we've got to name it. First, okay, so file name will just be out.html, and we'll give it output as its data. Okay, and we'll open that in Firefox, and that looks kind of like HTML. Nice. Okay, so I think we'll stop here. This is a pretty good self-contained lesson. Next thing to do, and also your challenge for today, is see if you can add H1 and H2 headings, which are the really big and the next biggest headings. And then also, the whole reason we would make something like this is if we have a personal project and we want to do some sort of markup that Markdown doesn't have. Like if we just want Markdown, we'll use a library for it. But maybe we want some other sort of text expansion or some other kind of markup that's useful just for us. So let's add two tags that Markdown doesn't have, small and big. If you're not familiar with it, small is just a tag that you put on a word like so. Actually, this may actually work in the preview too. Let's check that out. Okay. One preview. Okay, so we'll make the things big. This is just an HTML tag. This is not Markdown. And it does work. Things, big things, and small things. Okay, so see if you can implement that. A big tag and a small tag. It's up to you to decide what syntax you want to do for that. You want it to be simple, of course, but maybe you could use some other symbol that we haven't used yet. Like you could match on pluses or minuses or something like that. So pretty much whatever you think is reasonable and is not likely to be showing up in text documents already. Like if you match on the letters S and M, then every single time the word smoke appears in a document, it might be broken up and the S and M from it would turn into a small tag or something like that. So give it a shot, and we'll be back with a solution to that very soon. So subscribe to the videos and you'll get more videos and you'll learn lots of Elixir. And until then, code on.